Call the Baser Planning Commission meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And at this time, we'll swear in our new member.
Yes, please.
So is this a raise your right hand type of thing?
You may. So yes, if you would read that oath of office.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Kansas and faithfully discharge duties as planning commissioner. So help me God.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
You're official then.
Okay, I always want to be official.
Maybe the first to congratulate you.
Thank you. You know, I have to tell you that my career has come full circle because I started out, I worked for the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, KCK, for 34 years. My first job was in the planning and zoning department.
Oh, wow.
And I took the minute and sent out the notices and did all of that. So
Oh.
I have made full circle in my career. Thank you for the opportunity.
We're happy to have you here.
So who does she give this document to?
Yeah, we'll take it at the end.
Item 3, approval of minutes of preceding meeting. We have any changes? Additions? Comments?
I make the motion that we approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Blake?
Yes.
Yes. Stacy?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And I approve. We have any declarations? Recusal, anything of that nature, discussions with anybody? Item 4, election of planning commission chair.
It's June. It's time to nominate a chair to preside over the planning commission for the next 12 months. We should do this every June. Certainly, Mr. Gallion has done a terrific job and there's nothing that precludes him from doing it again. And there's also nothing that says that someone else can't do it, but we will need some nominations.
Well, I nominate John to continue in the role.
I'd second
Yes, Chair.
that if you'll do it.
Sure, be happy to. Thank you.
Well, we should take a vote.
Yes. All in favor, Janice?
Aye.
Jim?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Cecil?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
I accept. Thank you very much.
Right, now we need a vice chair.
Stacy's been doing a pretty good job of it as far as I can tell. So
Still.
I'm good with
I will
her.
second that.
I will too.
Okay, who's gonna be nominated for second?
Cecil.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
That's fine.
It doesn't matter.
All in favor, Blake?
Yes.
Cecil?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
I vote yes. Jim?
Yes.
Yes.
Janice? All in favor? Item 6, planning director's report.
All righty. I don't have very much to report this evening. We only have 2 items on the agenda. These are both text amendments. And this is really just cleaning up some language that we currently have and making things a little bit more concise. I don't expect this to be overly difficult, hopefully, knock on wood. But other than that, I do not have anything.
Don't believe we have any old business. Under new business, item 7. PADM -005 -23. Text amendment to the Baser zoning regulations. Public hearing is required. Would you like to comment?
Yes, I sure would. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is item number PADM 005-23. This is, as I stated, a text amendment to the Baser zoning regulations, specifically to Article 8. We currently have fence regulations. We also have sign regulations and we have architectural design standards. that are intended to be incorporated into our Article 8, which is part of our zoning regulations. Those three sets of regulations were adopted about a decade ago. And they are separate from our regulations, but that causes quite a bit of confusion for folks through the development process because they don't realize that they're beholden to these regulations. And so all we decided to do is bring them in and reference them in the regulations, but to put the fence regulations in there. So they're very clear. It's no longer a separate document. Everybody knows where to go to look. But with that, there is a minor update that we are recommending to section 10.23 of the fence regulations. Currently, you are not allowed to construct a fence within a drainage easement. And I'm not talking about a large drainage way. I'm talking about the sorts of drainage easements that go between properties. And it's very common in platted subdivisions that your property boundaries contain drainage easements. It's also pretty common that people like to construct fences along their property boundaries, as it turns out. And currently our regulations state that you cannot construct a fence within that. A couple of years ago, the acting city attorney and staff came up with a plan to address these items, and that included a fence declaration and then sending the plans over to the acting city engineer to make sure that we weren't going to be causing any problems. And that's worked really, really well. But every time we get one of these that comes along, our initial reaction is, well, we have to deny this because the regulation doesn't allow it. And then we kind of backtrack and we do the declaration and such. And so staff decided that we should just put that requirement in the fence regulations so everybody knows up front that you will have to have a declaration. That declaration absolves the city of any sorts of liability in the event that there is any sort of backup. The fence has to be a specific type so that we aren't causing drainage backups. And then additionally, staff would send that fence permit request over to the city engineer just for them to take a quick look at it and make sure that we're not going to be causing any problems. So we've added that language to the fence regulations that we are putting into Article 8 of our supplementary district regulations. There's also a minor update to the sign code. We notified that update separately because, like I stated previously, our sign code is kind of a standalone document right now. So we wanted to be extra sure that we were making all of our notification requirements. So I will talk about that during our next case, but it's the same thing that's been identified here in this report. So this particular item is just to address adding the architectural design standards. There are no changes to that. Adding the fence regulations and adding the sign regulations, making sure those are referenced in Article 8. And with that, I will answer any questions that you may have. This does require a public hearing.
Do we have any questions?
Do our regulations state that you can't put any permanent structures on drainage easements?
Well,
I mean, this is sort of different from the fences, but this came up a couple of years ago. And I couldn't find it anywhere in our regulations, but the city confirmed to me that you could, but I don't know if it's in writing in any of our regulations or not. The city told me you could not put permanent structures on a drainage easement.
Commissioner Owen, that's a great question. I can go back and take a look and look, but I don't have the answer to that off the top of my head.
I think it'd be good if it was there, but I'm tending to think it probably is there someplace because the city was able to answer.
Yes,
Question
I
that
would.
They were not that you couldn't put any permanent structures on a drainage easement. I can understand why you'd not want to have structures on a drainage easement. For the
Yes.
same reason we're looking at the fences right now.
You know, typically, and this is typical practice, you would not allow anything to be a permanent structure to be constructed in any sort of easement. That's part of the reason that they exist.
Yes,
Obviously, if you're talking about an electric utility easement, your driveway may go through that. But, you know, we wouldn't allow anyone to build a shed on it, you know, to erect a shed on it or anything. So to your question as whether or not it's in the regulation somewhere, I assume that it is. I don't know certainly that it is, but I know practice is that no, you absolutely do not allow permanent structures to be constructed within easements really of any kind unless there are very specific circumstances that would allow that, but that would not be typical.
Okay, thank you. I will open this to a public hearing. Do we have anybody who would like to speak? We don't have a lot of public, anybody online that,
The only person we have online, it appears, is Mr. Heaven.
in that case, I'll close the public hearing. Entertain a motion, item 7.
Mr. Chairman, Blake Waters, I move to approve case number PADM 005 23 text amendment to the Baser zoning regulations, Article 8, supplementary district regulations, and forward this recommendation of approval to the Baser City Council.
I'll second. All in favor? Janice?
Right?
Jim?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Cecil?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
I vote yes, passes 6-0. Item 8, PADM 006-23. Text amendment to Baser sign regulations. A public hearing is required.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I stated, this falls under the same umbrella of what we just discussed. However, we are proposing a minor change to section 4.2 of our sign code. That section of the sign code currently requires a written notice to owners of a sign that has either been placed incorrectly or the sign may be in disrepair. The issue with that is that applies to signs that are located within our right of way, not just like, say, a billboard sign on the side of the road that's placed outside of the right of way, but maybe it's dilapidated. The city would send a letter that says you need to bring your sign back up to standards and you have 10 days to do that. That's a perfectly fine process for that. That's not a great process for signs that, like garage sale signs or political signs that get placed in the right of way. However, the way that we have read our code is that 10-day notice would apply to those. So we are amending that and making it so that the city can effectively immediately remove any signs that are placed within the right of way. Signs are not allowed in the right of way, of course. They can cause safety issues. Also, you have to mow around them and such. And they're just flat out not allowed. So this very minor amendment will make it so that city staff can just remove a sign if we come across it. It does not apply to signs that were permitted, like I talked about, a sign that may be dilapidated, a sign that's appropriately located. It does not apply to that. That would still require the written notification and then the following steps as need be. This is only pertaining to signs that are placed in the right of way. Again, I will answer any questions you may have, and this does require a public hearing.
I love this. I think it's much needed. I think our city has a tendency to look trashy, and it puts a lot of burden on staff to run around and try to keep them clean, and people just putting them everywhere. If I'm reading this correctly, that will help alleviate that challenge. You can just go down the street and you see that, you pick it up, you throw it away because they're not allowed to have it there. I really appreciate this.
Dennis, you had a question?
I do kind of question comment thing. So, I noticed last weekend was the citywide garage sale and there were garage sale signs everywhere. I mean, everywhere. And then I noticed, first of the week that they're gone. So I just always assumed that being a responsible garage sale person, that I went and picked up my sign. I don't know if that always happens. It probably does not. But so like on the corner of Leavenworth Road and 155th Street, there had to be 15 signs.
Yeah.
Right there on that corner. So what is the distance of the right of way that they have to set back from?
Great question.
Well, it depends upon the roadway. Different roadway
Is that still a
classification.
state highway at that point? Leavenworth Road?
No, it is
Okay.
not. I'm sorry, I don't have that number off the top of my head and I don't like to.
Because I know at a certain point Leavenworth Road is designated as State Highway 5. And it's a state highway.
County Route, well, no, County Route 5 is Tonganoxie roadway.
Yeah, but it may not still carry that designation after, I don't know, maybe across the 7 highway, maybe it just becomes Leavenworth Road. Because
Yeah,
I think it kind of curves off to head up to Leavenworth maybe.
Yeah.
And
it's
some-
Curve somewhere around Wyandotte County Lake.
Yeah, and it kind of,
Yeah.
it's, like a roller coaster to, take the back roads up to Leavenworth. And I think it comes out behind the prison, maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so anyway, doesn't really matter. But yeah, just what is if I'm gonna put a sign on that corner for my garage sale next year, how far back do I need to be?
Yeah, so right of way is dependent upon the road classification system. Local roadways, certainly, what we would consider a local roadway has less right of way requirements than say a highway. Obviously, highways are really big and wide, right? And local roadways, like in your subdivisions, are not. So the best thing for folks to do is when in doubt, give us a call and we'll look up where the road is and what the classification is and what the right of way requirements are, and then we can let them know. But it does change based upon the roadway type.
So does this just encompass our streets through the town proper, and does it include State Avenue?
This is for city maintained roadways. The state has their own set of sign requirements.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
No.
As part of the public notification of public hearing. Was that in the notification that went out, the publication that went out, that city staff will now just remove the signs if they're in the.
We add a little blurb about what the topic is, but we don't put the exact language. But certainly primarily because the language can change based upon input from the council, but yes, so we put a little thing in there, and we can certainly do a social media burst after, if this is approved, and put that out there. And
That might be a good idea,
Yeah.
just to avoid some annoyance.
Yeah.
Citizens,
we can do that.
thank you.
I know the VFW likes to use that corner to advertise their bingo nights,
Mhm.
their pancake feeds.
Mhm.
So that would be allowed. They just have to make sure they put it out within.
It needs to be outside of the right of
Right-of-way.
way, and it would need to follow any temporary sign requirements that we have, and that's again dependent upon zoning districts.
Any other question? I'll open the hearing. We have any one that would like to comment? Seeing none. Close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve case number PADM 006 23, text amendment to the Baser sign regulations, section 4.2, removal of sign, and forward this recommendation of approval to the Baser City Council.
I'll second that.
All in favor, Janice?
Aye.
Jim?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Cecil?
Yes.
Yes, I vote yes, motion passes 6-0. Item 9, open agenda. Like we have none. Item 10, reports from special committees. So do we have any? Item 11, development report.
We have received an additional building permit, I think, after this agenda went out, so this needs to be updated, but we've now issued 20 single-family residential permits for the year. We are still at 2 for multifamily residential. As I stated before, we do have an approved plan set for Taco Bell, so we are hopeful that that will break ground here sometime early this summer. But other than that, I don't have anything else to report.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion to adjourn.
All
I'll second that.
in favor, Janice,
Aye.
Jim,
Yes.
Cece,
Yes.
Cecil? Yes. Blake? Yes. I vote yes. Meeting is adjourned.
This is good.